من الدبابات وناقلات الجنود الروسية إلى المنطقة. إذن هذه هي الصور. نذكر
Well, it looks like U.S. intelligence was right. This footage is brought to us via Al Jazeera there, and it purports to show Russian forces basically on the road on the outskirts of the city of Donetsk. And that is within Ukraine. We'll continue watching
أنها
for a
صور
moment.
حصرية للجزيرة تظهر قافلة عسكرية روسية تدخل إلى المناطق الانفصالية الأوكرانية تحديدا إلى منطقة.
I'm seeing treads. I've also seen other photos that purport, we'll get into that right now, with the New York Times as well, showing a number of Russian tanks on being loaded onto trains, assumingly for transport. So we'll put back over here. All right, here we go. I apologize. I was actually going through the article. What a terrible professional YouTuber. All right, as we can see, Ukraine live updates. Biden joins Europe in punishing Russia with sanctions, because that stopped President Putin from invading the Ukraine and Georgia and Crimea. Washington and its allies call the Kremlin's recognition of two separatist regions a blunt defiance of international law that risks war. Western officials said Russian troops have entered eastern Ukraine. So basically, as far as I understand it, you had President Putin of Russia there, and there were some separatist organizations within Ukraine as well. And to my knowledge, they purport to be heavily ethnically Russian. And President Putin has decided to help protect and or liberate those folks. So it's about standard Putin playbook of, oh, these people are in trouble. They identify as Russian, so we're going in there. And let's continue. Biden calls Putin's actions the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. President Biden on Tuesday announced sanctions aimed at pushing Russia for what he called the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. During European leaders impose an economic consequence for blatant violations of national sovereignty. Speaking from the East Room of the White House, Mr. Biden condemned President Vladimir Putin of Russia for his aggression against Ukraine, saying the Russian action is a flagrant violation of international law and demands a firm response from the international community. The following here is my opinion. Putin don't care. In my opinion, President Putin doesn't care. He's going to do what it is. That's why I say you don't blink in front of the great Russian bear. Things like these might happen. As when I'm getting recommended for like Forbes or Bloomberg saying President Biden is making a huge mistake considering dropping first strike potentiality, I'm like, doesn't that completely shatter the whole concept of mutually assured destruction? So we're just going to sit there and finger wag and put more sanctions on it as we continue to, yeah. My opinion is unless you start hitting Russia, and again, do not promote violence nor warfare here on the Memes of Destruction channel, unless we legalize dueling. But yeah, it's probably just going to keep on going. Just my opinion. Back to the article. So we can see here, there's some photos. What the heck is that? That looks like, oh, looks like, some explosions. For a second there, it looked kind of like something from Cloverfield. I'm assuming that, okay, looks like some individuals in military attire. As the world waits in nervous anticipation, President Putin's next moves. The rhythm of daily life in the Ukraine has already been affected by the intensifying conflict. Mr. Putin Tuesday further laid the foundation for military conflict by declaring that Russia would recognize the sovereignty of the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, two breakaway territories over the full territory that they claim. pictures here, clockwise from left. Yeah, you're seeing the smoke rise. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz criticized Putin's decision to recognize the independence of breakaway republics in Ukraine as unacceptable break in international law on Tuesday night. Yeah. If you look back in history long enough, you will find many borders that were different in the past. They were all to be discussed again. We'd have very little, have a very conflictual time ahead of us, he said on public television. Oh, that's hundreds of Berliners protested against an invasion in front of the Russian embassy in the posh Unter den Linden Street in central Berlin on Tuesday afternoon. Protesters who included at least one leader of the ruling Social Democrats. One of Berlin's deputy mayors held banners that read, "Stop war, stop Putin, and hands off Ukraine." Power to the people. I see you there, Dad Man. Welcome, my friend. I see you there. And Quinn? Yes. All right. EU adopts first sanctions, and they will hurt a lot, diplomat says. Again, I'm interjecting my opinion here. I don't think Putin cares. I watched for 20 minutes as a Russian farmer was talking so highly of the sanctions. It helped his domestic agriculture, and he tried to pitch Putin some of his delicious cheese for like 20 minutes. And Putin's like, no, my security detail will get it. People try to give me stuff all the time, and I have no idea if the dude was trying to poison President Putin or he really just wanted the president of Russia to eat his cheese. From Brussels. Europe's top diplomats said on Tuesday that the European Union foreign ministers had adopted a first round of sanctions against Russians, individuals, and entities after President Putin recognized two breakaway regions in eastern Ukraine. This package of sanctions that has been approved by unanimity with the member states will hurt Russia, and will hurt a lot. Joseph Borrell Fontanes, High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, told the press after meetings of ministers in Paris. See you there, Dave. Dave. That's a very interesting point. They got a lot of cameras there in Russia, from what I've seen, for people driving. Folks getting a little fender bending. You see them out there like getting ready to sock it out. Russia has its own culture. Senators work on legislation to aid Ukraine and punish Russia. Senators from both parties began working on Tuesday on a multi-pronged legislative response toward Russian aggression that would provide emergency funds for Ukraine's defense, sanction Russia's economy, and create a task force to find ways to seize the wealth of Russian oligarchs and possibly the riches of Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, told local reporters in his state that an emergency spending bill and bipartisan sanctions legislation, long delayed in Congress, could pass when lawmakers return from President's Day recess. So they should be back tomorrow? Something like that? A key point from Biden's remarks. These sanctions against two Russian financial institutions are a first tranche. The White House wants to reserve the ability to take additional actions if Russian forces move deeper into Ukraine. So basically, it kind of, again, just my opinion here, it kind of sounds like we're like, no, don't you do that, Vlad. And he's like, oops. As far as I understand, people are getting hurt. People are dying. If they haven't already, there's a good chance that's going to be the case. War is hell, folks. That's why we want to avoid it at all costs. I realize I wasn't showing the article. All right, a whole bunch of tweets and or titles, because this is how we do things now on the internet. That's a pretty neat beard. But yeah, Russian self-propelled howitzers were loaded on a train car near Tanrud, Russia. Yeah. Those look like they could do a lot of damage. They look like they're on trains ready to roll. So as we can see, people have already lost their lives. The funeral of a soldier killed in eastern Ukraine. May they be at peace. Condolences to their friends and family. As the world braces nervously to see how events unfold in Ukraine, the conflict has already been taking a toll. A funeral was held in Kiev on Tuesday for Captain Anton Sirov, 35-year-old Ukrainian intelligence officer killed 3 days earlier while serving on the front line in eastern Ukraine. Tensions between Ukraine and Russia have been simmering since 2014. The Russian military crossed into Ukrainian territory, annexing Crimea and fomenting a rebellion in the east. What else is going on? Looks like folks in the UN standing for that. What other effects will it have? Because what are some potential contributing reasons for what might be going on? Okay, here's one of the big things. U.S. troops in Poland based for possible Ukrainian evacuees. U.S. soldiers at a camp near Polish border with Ukraine on Monday. Many of the nearly 5,000 troops from the 82nd Airborne Division who arrived in Poland last week are working with Polish forces to set up processing centers for tens of thousands of people, including Americans who are expecting to flee neighboring Ukraine if Russia launches a full-scale invasion of the country. U.S. military officials have we just accepted the fact that Russia just already annexed the eastern parts of Ukraine? We're just like, well, there you go, Putin, but don't you keep going. I apologize, but unfortunately none of this really surprises me. But what else might it affect within this world? You gotta keep going. You gotta keep scrolling. Yeah, world leaders don't necessarily know what's going on. Oh yeah, as we see people literally leaving their homes, most likely. Oil prices jump, nearing $100 a barrel as Ukraine develops royal energy markets. Was it just me, or wasn't it like a year or two ago where like oil technically, at least the futures, hit like negative $40 a barrel because all of a sudden we're like, oh my god, we're not delivering anymore. So it at least for the futures, they need places to put it, and we're rolling back up again. I think the high point was what, like 140, $150-ish a barrel, probably a decade-ish or so ago. Oil prices approached $100 a barrel on Tuesday, the highest in more than 7 years, and European gas futures briefly jumped more than 13% amid rising concerns over armed conflict in Ukraine after the Kremlin ordered Russian troops into separatist territories late Monday. The separatist territory, it's not even part of the Ukraine anymore, apparently. Well, the price of Brent crude, the international benchmark, neared the $100 barrel mark on Tuesday before easing off to about $97 a barrel, a 2% increase. West Texas Intermediate was trading nearly $94 a barrel, up about 3%. China withholds support for Putin's move, calling for respect for territorial integrity. Good for them. Good for China. Over to you, President Xi. China on Tuesday did not criticize orders by President Vladimir Putin of Russia, recognizing two separatist enclaves in Ukraine, deploying Russian troops to them. It offered no support either. China's foreign minister Wang Yi expressed concern about what he called a worsening situation in Ukraine during a telephone conversation with Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken, according to a statement of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And ultimately, there will be losses. Ukraine braces for fighting as the West prepares a response to Russia. Now, what does all this mean for us? I have no idea. We're going to have to see what happens. All I know is every time there seems to be some type of threat, some type of conflict, a lot of sacrifices are made. So, that's all I got for right now. I just felt like this was actually important stuff that people should know about. So, peace out, everybody. Be safe. Remember, it's a crazy world out there. Take care of yourselves.